AI now lets you build, publish, and monetize an app in just a few hours without any coding skills.
So you could build pretty much anything with Mocha. So now we're actually live on the internet.
This was incredible. There's dozens of apps out there that say you can build apps with AI, but the reality is when you use them, it doesn't let you do things like build authentication, build a backend, or build a monetization.
So here's a really powerful thing that just happened. We just added authentication and we started using the database, as I'm going to show you.
Okay, this was very cool. So today I have Nick Charriere coming on to show us how to build products with AI that actually work.
There's really no limit to what you can build.
Let's dive right in. Nick, welcome. What are you going to teach us today?
Hey, I'm going to show you how to use Mocha, which is an app builder designed for people who are super non-technical.
Okay, awesome. I'm really excited to do this, but before we start, I have a question. There's so many app builders out there. There's Replit, Lovable, Bolt, so many others. Why should someone be building with Mocha?
When we started building this, we actually were building a tool for developers. And as AI got better and as we kind of put it in front of users, we learned that it was incredibly powerful. Like we got an incredibly powerful emotional reaction by non-technical people, because to them, it's unlocking something. Whereas for a developer, or for someone who's already somewhat technical, it's just like enhancing something. And so that's when we decided about a year ago to go all in on like the most non-technical audience possible. So if you imagine a spectrum of like on the right, you have Claude Code and Cursor for developers. And then in the middle, you might have Replit and then like Bolt and then like Lovable. Like we're on the extreme like other side, right? Which is we build for an audience who barely know what a database is. To them, like the difference between an app and a website is confusing. Like we're trying to help these people kind of build things with the medium of the web, just like Instagram made photography really accessible. We want to make like app building really accessible.
Awesome. We can start whenever you're ready.
So we're on getmocha.com, which is our website. So you can start here. You can start typing your idea directly, but I'm going to sign in because I already have an account. You can connect with GitHub, Google, or just email. And I'm going to log in because I already have an account. And so these are my existing apps. We're not really going to visit those today. We're going to build a new app, but you could have like dozens and dozens of apps. And then some of them are just like temporary, others you've published and are live. And so we're going to create a new app today. And what we're going to build is an avatar maker. So you might have seen this when ChatGPT came out with their new image model. Everybody went crazy and started giblifying their faces. So we're going to build something similar, but instead of giblifying, we'll take a picture and we'll transform it into like another style. We'll make that like a watercolor style. And for this, we'll use like what I think is the best image model today. You could use multiple, but I think Google's Nano Flash is like really good. So we'll use that one. And I'll walk you through actually the whole process of like getting it to work. And then we can tweak it. We can change the style, we can change the design, and I'll show you how it's fun to build a website when you don't really even know how to, like, you don't know any of the technical terms, but you could still make it happen. And so I'm purposefully going to kind of approach, I'm a developer, but I'm purposefully going to approach this as if I wasn't a developer and use like simple words to show you that Mocha's designed in that way. So we're going to say Mocha, like, I want to build an avatar maker app. Users can upload a picture and it will transform it into a stylized, let's call it watercolor version of the picture. Notice I'm not using any kind of like technical terms here. I'm not specifying a technical framework. I don't know what Supabase is. I don't know what GitHub is. You're just talking about outcomes and like how things work. Which is how we design Mocha to like respond. So I'm going to say for now, don't implement, this is a trick. Don't implement the like AI transformation. I want to get the foundations right. And I'll say for design, do something very simple and pure, inspired by Apple. So a trick here, you could not say anything, and Mocha has some pretty good presets, but a lot of AI apps kind of look the same these days because they are powered by the same models, and those models have like a bit of an opinion. So a really good way to guide them, you could upload a screenshot, you could go on Pinterest and be like, I like these websites, or I like this color palette. You could do anything. I like saying, build something that looks like Apple, or that looks like Notion, or that looks like Spotify, or like Canva. Kind of pick like a brand that's really good at design and has spent a lot of time doing that. And that's kind of baked into the model weights. So I'm going to let this go.
Yeah.
So I could have given it more here. I could have given it like a big prompt with a lot of things, and Mocha can run for like quite a minute if you wanted to. But I always find it a big thing that we're trying to do at Mocha is that the user is involved. Like the whole point is that you're creating, and so like
Yeah.
we've designed it so that it tries to keep the work it does within the scope of like a few minutes, as opposed to like 45 minutes an hour. The idea is not you come to Mocha and it does the thing in the background. The idea is that like you're collaborating on building. Did I disconnect? Sorry, I'm
Cool.
just checking. I
It
got like
was
a
it
little
was fine.
warning.
The files sort of like get saved locally first and then get uploaded, so it won't matter.
Okay,
It's fine.
great. So while this is loading, I'm going to do a couple things. I'm going to talk to you a bit about the layout, and then we're going to also go and collect some Nano Banana information. So on the left, you have the chat panel that you can collapse. And on the right, you have this window, which is a preview of your website. You could think of this as a website within a website.
Yeah.
This is a sandbox, so it's not the real published site yet. You could do whatever you want to it. And then at any point, you could one-click publish it to the web, which we'll do later, make it available to everybody. The code is available, but we do not really expect people to go look at it. It's just, it's there and you can edit it. And if you are working with a developer, you own the code. So that's why we show it to
Yeah.
people. But honestly, like the models are pretty good, but they're not perfect yet. We think a year, 2 years from now, when the models basically are flawless and never make any mistakes, we very much plan on not showing the code, because like the point of this is that you don't need to understand the code.
Yeah.
And then there's a data tab. So we'll get into this, but like what Mocha does is it has a bunch of built-in functions to make it easy for you to like build apps. So it has authentication. That means logging in. So you could log in with Google or GitHub like very easily with Mocha. We just do it all for you. It's all baked in. We built it like as part of the platform. We also have a database that comes with it. So if you don't know what a database is, like the example I give is like think an Excel spreadsheet that's backing up your app. An app is really only useful if when you come back, things have stayed the same. Like there's a profile that remembers you. And so you need a database of some kind. It's actually a really big rabbit hole and it can get really complicated. So Mocha is extremely opinionated on how we do this to take it out of your hands and you have no decisions to make. There's no super base. There's no third party. You don't need another account. It's just all there. The point of this is we want to abstract away building all the way to like a non-technical person can understand a level of abstraction that's like super approachable, where like, I don't know, I always say my mother, a teacher in Paris, could use it to build apps for her students.
Yeah.
Okay. We have our MVP, so it's going to transform your photos into beautiful watercolor avatars. This is nice. It's nice and clean. We haven't added login yet. That's great. We're going to add all these things as we go. The first thing I'd like to do is make sure that first we can upload a picture. So this is a picture of me. Okay, so at least uploading works. And now this, I could just download, and it said watercolor transformation coming soon because I told it not to implement it. So the next step is we're going to ask it to use AI. Now what I've done is I've gone and I've got this other tab. This should be baked into Mocha, and we're going to add it soon. But right now, you still need to give it a bit of hints to use certain libraries. So I went on like the Nano Banana. I think I Googled like AI Google Studio Nano Banana, and there was a quick start button, and I clicked that. And I'm just going to copy like this one. I'm looking for like image generation, and I'm just going to copy this one piece of documentation. This is actually really not great because, as I said, our audience, we expected not to know any of this. So we're building this as part of the app. Like we actually have these instructions for DALL-E and OpenAI models, but not for Gemini yet. And I want to use Gemini today, but we're going to have this probably in the next couple of weeks. I can actually walk you through how I do this from the get-go. Like it's okay. So I'm going to look for like AI, Nano, Banana, Google, which I know is the link, and it's going to say create with Nano Banana. And actually, this is not the one I want, the studio. So I'm going to go to like AI Studio, get started. I'm in the AI Studio. And then I have an API key, but you could get an API key right here. And I just go to the documentation. And here we are. And I'm just going to copy like image generation. I'm going to copy this. And this is what you would link. So I'm going to teach you a trick with Mocha. One of the reasons I did this is I want to teach you like a really powerful trick, which is you can add custom knowledge to your application, which means like the app will always know about it. So you can go in settings here, and you can go into like knowledge, and I'm going to say like, here is documentation about using Nano Banana Google image generation model. And I'm just going to paste that. and save, and that's now there. So actually, a lot of people, when they're using Mocha or these app builders, they'll be chatting with a chat GPT on the side. Often that thing is like giving you insights and summarizing, compacting some information into like a blurb or summary, maybe a PRD, like a product requirements document.
Yeah.
And if that happens, you could just paste that in custom knowledge. It's great. It's a good way of having like a source of truth that you're sharing with the AI. It's as if you were collaborating with a human and you had like a document you were sharing, which is really powerful. So now let's add the image generation using Nano Banana. It should make a watercolor version of the uploaded image. So I'm going to let Mocha go. So here, actually, do you see Mocha told me a secret value named Google API key was added. Please enter your secret value. So I have this ready to go. But if you don't, you can click walkthrough and Mocha will walk you through exactly how to get it. It's going to give you a link. It's going to give you like some steps and you can go get it. And this works with any API key. We have like a little research agent that understands how API keys work and how to go get them.
Yeah.
So I'm going to paste my API key here. Yep.
And just for very quickly, for folks who've never used an API before, can you just quickly explain what an API does?
Yes. So an API means application programmatic interface. So an API is how different applications talk to each other. So when you're on the Instagram application and you hit upload photo, like your phone is communicating with Facebook servers. And the way it does that is through an API. We use English. That's how two humans like interface with each other, like that we use language. And they use APIs, which are like they're going over the protocol of HTTP and they send payloads of information to each other, like the data, you know. And so for two programs or servers to talk to each other, they need to authenticate to make sure that there's no abuse. Otherwise, everybody could just upload anything to Instagram. They need to know it's Nicholas. And that's an API key. That's saying like, hey, I'm Mocha, please generate an image for me. And that allows Google to like charge me for every image I generate, etc. Yeah. So it's a simple like communication mechanism between two systems.
Yeah. So I guess a simple way to describe it would be it's the pipe that connects our application to Google Nano Banana. And the key is just the thing that, tells Google that it's actually us and not someone else, right?
A bit like a signature, exactly. Yeah.
Cool.
And so it's loading. It added some aqua design here, which is interesting. I always like to do a little bit of design at the beginning and then a polish of design at the end, because you could go a long way with a few things at the end, but you want the foundation to be rather close to where you're going to end up. Cool. So here, like Mocha has finished. By the way, we don't ever need to look at this, but it's written a bunch of code. This is how it works. It's code powered. It might be important to say this because it's code powered. There's no limit to what it can do. Unlike like Webflow or Squarespace, which are like engine powered, you can only do what the engine allows you to do. But with code, there's literally no limit. You could do anything as long as Mocha doesn't make mistakes. Which, if you build very complicated things, there's a limit. But like theoretically, there's no limit, and we'll get there.
Yeah.
So I made a bunch of changes. So let's try it out. So I'm going to upload a picture of me and see if it works. Here we go. This is a picture of me transformed to watercolor. Fingers crossed. But sometimes it doesn't work, and that's okay. That's what software is. Okay, it worked. I kind of was hoping it wasn't going to work so I could show you debugging, but we'll create more bugs in the future maybe. So this worked actually very well. And so like I now have a watercolor image of myself. This looks pretty cool actually. Maybe I should use this as a profile picture on Twitter.
Yeah.
So we have a super basic version of the site. Now, typically from this point on, I start making the site more of a like, I don't know, a publishable site on the internet that people would use. One issue with this, for example, is that anybody could just log into my website and make a watercolor image. And if I went viral, I would spend a lot of money on Google Nano Banana. So maybe I want to add like sign in, and then later I'll accept payments. So you could buy credits and do this on your own account. So before we do that, though, I'm gonna show you publishing. So we've built something. It's got a unit of functionality. Publishing is now a one-click concept on Mocha. So you just hit publish app, and right now it's going to publish to this like random name, but we could change this name. You could connect your own domain. I didn't buy a domain for this, but you could actually buy a domain directly on Mocha, or you could add a subdomain. We'll probably just do the latter because it's easier right now.
Cool.
So you could have it be called like watercolorme.mocha.app, or you could buy watercolorme.com, and you could connect both of those to Mocha, the former being free. So it's publishing. This takes 20 to 40 seconds. Here we go. And so now we're actually live on the internet. So I could send this over to you, Zain, and you could like go and use this. And like, this is a shareable moment. So we call this one of the like wonderful moments because we've noticed when people publish, the first thing they do is they share with someone.
Nice.
And when they see that someone has used their app, that's like a very powerful moment of pride, which most developers have gone through this at some point. And we try to get people to that point as quickly as possible. Cool.
Very
So I
cool.
want to show a couple more things you could do with Mocha, and why and how Mocha makes it easy. So right now we've built a really basic functional like app that does one thing. It does it quite well. But as I said, we want to maybe add authentication and user profiles. This is going to lead the way to like managing abuse and also collecting payments. So I could just say to Mocha, like, I'd like to add user profiles logging in to the application. So notice that like I'm purposefully not using words like authentication because we don't want people to know these things.
Yeah.
The whole our vision with Mocha is that you understand nothing about how coding works, but you could still communicate with Mocha. And I think there's still some work to do, but we're like on the right path. And that
Yeah.
path is integrating everything. So the Mocha has a very strong opinion about how to build things. You can think of Mocha as a super opinionated tech lead who takes like your goals, but like he doesn't give you any choice on how to build things. He thinks he knows the best way, and he's doing it that way. Here we go. So it's going to add auth. So what's powerful here is that Mocha has built an authentication SDK. So they're actually whole third parties for this. There's a company called Clerk. They're wonderful. As a developer, you might use them. They do this as a service. But then you'd have to manage 2 subscriptions, connect them to Mocha, manage your users in Clerk. That's like against one of the principles we have, which we wanted to be Mocha to be the one place where you could build and also operate your website. Otherwise, it's just so much overhead.
Yeah.
And so we built our own authentication SDK. And so it's all going through like a Google OAuth going through Mocha, which you can eject from if you want. If you know what Google Auth is and you have a client ID and a client secret, which is a bit of an advanced use case. But if you have your own client, Google client, you could use that. Nothing wrong with that. But our goal is always to make it very easy to like for it to just work. And then if you want to eject, you can eject. So we do both of those. We have both of those kind of like philosophies going on. So here it's working. You can see the brain. So Mocha told us I've added user authentication. Users can now sign in. And I'm going to show you 2 things with this because authentication is one part of what's happened here, but we've also started using the database without saying anything because users are recorded in the database. And so I'll show you how you could visualize those and manage them and see the production data. So Mocha's still working, you can tell with these little spinners. I dream of a day when this stuff is instant, and that day will come, but we are not there yet.
Just a question. So by the way, we looked at this as one of the ideas we wanted to do, but we decided not to do it because by the time we decided to work on like an app builder, there were just so many folks in the market and we didn't have a clear line of differentiation. One thing we started to do, we realized, it's like one approach that we were taking was we noticed that there were certain categories of apps people wanted to build. And what we internally started to do was started to create boilerplate code, like templated code for each segment or each type of website. Out of curiosity, this isn't going to go into the podcast. Out of curiosity, is that the approach you guys were taking, or did you guys go in another direction? Because that does speed up the entire process, right?
Yeah, it really does. So we call these templates, and we've started building stuff around this. Like we have a thing called Spotlight, which is the beginning of this. So you can clone a Mocha app when it's launched. You could like, if a Mocha app is public, you could clone it here. And so because you could clone it, someone could build a template and then sell the template. So an inspiration for this is Notion. Notion had a wonderful like growth moment because of their template marketplace at some point. People were building these beautiful Notion templates and selling them for like $20. And it was like a win-win because users would like save a lot of time. Those people would make $19 and Notion's user base would grow overall. We want to build this. I think there's a lot of room for templates. A lot of these app builders have marketplaces and it's starting to appear. I think there will be like a market for this. I think actually they don't say this, but Lovable's biggest like cohort of users are actually agencies who are selling Lovable apps.
Oh, interesting.
So their biggest customer base is actually, they're kind of replacing dev shops. They don't say this is not their marketing message, but they're actually going after these like power user agencies that are building Lovable apps and then handing over the Lovable app to somebody else who can then build it for like $500, $1,000. So it's already kind of happening, and that this market is also exploding on Contra with all of the app builders. So I think it's a good idea. By the way, people build like, I could give you maybe 10 ideas, and that's like 80% of what people are building. So there's definitely room for that.
Yeah, makes sense.
So Mocha just finished adding user authentication. So as you can see, now we could just continue with Google. By the way, this works both in the sandbox and when you publish, so that they're 2 different environments. You could do whatever you want in the sandbox and not break anything. So I'm logging in. I'm now logged in, you could see as Nick Charriere, and now I could like do the same thing. I can upload an image and we could go through the whole process. I'm going to publish this. actually, before I publish it, let's rename the app. Let's call it watercolorme.mocha.app. That's a better name. So now I'm going to publish it as watercolorme.mocha.app. It's publishing right now. So here's a really powerful thing that just happened. We just added authentication and we started using the database, as I'm going to show you. So there's a tab here called data, which is showing your database. And there's a table that is actually, it had already used a table called avatars. But there's a new table called users. And so I just signed in. And what did that do? That created a user in my records. So, you know, when apps are like, we have 100,000 users, what they mean is we have 100,000 records in our users database. And now if you're using Mocha, you have your own user database, which could scale to like 100,000, a million users, no problem. And you have two databases. You have one for dev. That's like for this sandbox in this like little rectangle here. And then when you publish, you have a separate database. This is on purpose because like, so this is super unclear. Actually, we need to do a better job of explaining it to our customers. But when you're developing an app, you have a development environment and you kind of like are always breaking it and trying new things and it's always broken and that's okay. And then you publish and you have your production environment and that needs to never break. You know, Instagram doesn't go down because their production environment is separate.
Exactly.
And so Mocha gives you the same thing. They have a production database and a development one. And every time you publish, we make sure that it can work well in the production environment. And if anything would break, we don't publish because we don't want to break your app. But now that we've done this, I want to show you something. So I'm on, so we called it watercolorme.mocha.app. Okay, so watercolorme.mocha.app. I'm going to sign in. This is production, right? Because I'm on the public internet. I'm going to sign in as nicholas.charriere@gmail.com. And I'm in the app, and I just want to show you something. So like if I come back to Mocha, and I go in the data tab, and I go to production, you can now see like that I have a production user. So if you went in and you signed in, you could do it right now. We would see like your user like showing up here in the app. This is really important because we want Mocha to be the place you could not only build, but operate your website. So you could come here, you could delete rows. You could actually, the users table, you can't, but all the other tables, you can manipulate them. You could create new rows. You could delete them. Think of it as like managing a spreadsheet of data that's powering your app. We want to give you the tools to do this in Mocha. And this is like early, but down the line, we'd love to have user management, email my users, you know, ban people, like be able to like do all kinds of like batch upload of CSVs. These are like common things that people ask for. We want Mocha to also be an admin. Maybe a good analogy here is WordPress. WordPress has a great admin that you could go in and configure your site that you could do before publishing. Cool. So we've gone over like actually a lot of features here. We can keep building if you want. Maybe we should ask you to suggest some features and we could try them out, Zain. But we have a site that has a clear functionality. You could log in, log out. It's saving your images. Actually, I'm not sure that it's saving your images. Let's try this. I'm wondering, this is like a YC picture of my co-founder and I. I'm going to watercolor it and I'm going to see if it's saving them. If it isn't, that could be a feature we could add. But at this point, you could keep adding features, or as I always like to advise my customers, like build what you think is the most important feature and try to validate that that works, get it out in front of users, get your first users, and only after start building more features. People that have not built products tend to build too many features and feature bloat. Cool. So I'm realizing now that we can download it, but we can't see it. Like if I refresh the page, I think it disappears. So we could say that. We could say like, I'd love to keep to be able to access my previously watercolored images from my account. Currently, they disappear when I refresh. So everything's worked quite well during this demo. Mocha's still working, but I will say sometimes it doesn't work. And so when it doesn't, there's like a fix with AI button that happens. We also have this discuss mode that you can toggle on. And when you do, Mocha stops making changes and is in like kind of like plan debug mode. And you can ask it questions and kind of walk through the problem with it. So AI is really good at understanding code. What it's not good at yet is interacting with the website. So if the bug is like, hey, when I click on this drop down and I move away from it, there's a flicker, that's really hard for the AI to know. So you, the human, can very much help by explaining the symptoms of the bug, what you're seeing and feeling, and then they can look at the code, and together you're actually a really good team to fix the bug. Whereas only one of you tends to be a bit weak. If you just click fix with AI, they don't have enough tools yet. Like, I don't think AIs are very good at multimodality yet. They can't really see and interact with video. They can see images, but like we see continuously in 3D, it's much richer. And so that's like a big weakness right now. So I always advise my customers when something's wrong, be extremely clear. Assume you're talking to someone who's like very good at code and just cannot see the screen, and you're communicating across like a black wall.
Interesting.
Here we go. So it saved my image in there in our watercolor gallery.
Okay, this was very cool. For folks who are wondering how to build some other apps, can you maybe show us a few other examples?
Yeah, so you could build pretty much anything with Mocha, but the more complicated, the more issues you encounter. So like it's always about finding like a simple, personal, productive thing for you, your team, your community, your family, your church, whatever. But here's some examples that people have built that I think are pretty cool. This is one where you could select like dates and then generate a unique link. And then send that to someone so they could book you. It's a bit like Calendly, but you could hyper customize
Interesting.
it. You could
Yeah.
also brand it to your own brand. You could add special times. You could add an intake form with like dedicated questions. It's
Very
kind of a
cool.
cool thing that this new AI coding app builders enable is that you could build very custom to you software.
Yep.
So in that line, my designer actually built this for his kid who's learning Spanish, and he wanted to help her learn Spanish. So he built like a flashcard app. And so this is like, he tried to make it fun, right? And so you could build these decks. I don't know if there are any decks. Here we go. There's some decks you could download to learn and study. He built a whole tutorial. So this is like a good example of like, he built, what I like about this is he built something for his kid. He was not imagining like thousands or hundreds of thousands of users. It's like for my kid. And it's actually a really good exercise to build something for someone very specifically, like very specific, because you tend to build valuable things that way. Another one is, and this is a bit of a classic example, but I built this habit tracker recently. I'll just log in here. So you could just log habits every day, and like it's kind of customized to me in the way I like to do things, which is like minimalistic, black and white, etc. But you could, once again, this one's actually still pretty generic. You can actually build it so that I'm gonna log like a day. You could build it so that it's really just custom to your own habits with big buttons for the things that you do and like little inspirational quotes from your favorite people. I always encourage people to like just hyper personalize. You can do this now. Other examples, people build like little productivity apps for their family, chore tracker, like a bulletin board of the activities, sports calendar for my kids. People build internal prototypes, especially to like connect two different systems that are a bit broken, or like an internal tool that's very useful to review, I don't know, some requests or abuse or very specific type of support. And people build events websites, like a wedding website or like a birthday website, or like I'm organizing a conference website, because you could do it very quickly and make it super customized. So there's really no limit to what you can build. But I do think it's better for like small, I call them well-scoped ideas. If you're trying to build Pinterest, you could start on Mocha, but you're going to hit like, it's going to be hard after a minute. And like, you probably want developers for that still today in 2025. Call me in 2026. I think this whole category is going to get super exciting and Mocha is going to get really powerful. But so far, I always recommend like well-scoped, personal software, hyper custom, useful to you, like kind of software.
Awesome. Amazing. Nick, this was incredible. For folks who want to find you or find Mocha, where do they go?
Yeah, so you could just go to getmocha.com. You could start for free. We give you some free credits. If you like it, you could just keep building. There are many, many different plans that really scale up and down with you and your needs. And you can publish, and you can have multiple apps on each tier. So definitely go check it out. It's free. It's super powerful. It's super fun. Show it to your most non-technical friend and challenge them to build something cool, and watch their eyes kind of sparkle when they realize they've built something. It's a really cool, magical moment.
Nice. Awesome. Nick, thank you so much for this, and can't wait to do this again.
Awesome.